the leadership of this country, particularly Parliament, are letting down Kenyans by arguing about things that are, in my view, extremely small, miniature, that do not really touch on the mandate of the country. The fact is, and the Supreme Court has made a decision about this issue, there's very little you can do in Kenya that doesn't touch on a county. I think the two speakers need to sit down very quickly and find a solution, because our largest problem in the National Assembly and Senate is not the members, it's actually Speaker Muturi and Speaker Lusaka.
Welcome back to Checkpoint. Makueni Senator Mutula Kilonzo Jr. there putting the blame and placing it on the two speakers of both houses as we discussed the feud that has been playing out. So Honorable Mbadi, I'll bring that to you, because especially in regard to where the Senate with the 17 laws that they say have been passed without their participation, there is a location and the two speakers are supposed to work together to see if this Senate should be involved, if not. So are they the ones dropping the ball and getting both houses in this situation?
First of all, there's something that I wanted to clarify, because Irungu veered into it but missed my point completely. Actually, what I meant was not the theft in the counties, but what I'm saying is there's 42 billion which sits in the revenue accounts of counties that have not been utilized for whatever reason. I expected the Senate to find out why. So that this money is spent, and then the 19 billion for May is released and 26 billion for June is released. Now you keep on asking for more money to go to the counties. You want to 327, yet even the 314 that was given to counties up to the end of June, 85 are not going to the counties. So it is not the inadequacy or budgetary allocation to counties. The problem with the counties is the flow of resources, and once the resources reach the county, why is it that we have huge amounts of pending bills and yet 42 billion out is still sitting in revenue accounts of 47 counties?
Still are
so
there
now
the
that is
National
something
Assembly.
that is not National Assembly.
No, I'm saying when pending bills, there's also,
the pending,
national government.
What we are saying, you have the money. National government can claim that we don't have enough collection, but the money is sitting right there in the accounts. Why can't it be utilized? That is the question I'm asking the Senate.
To the question.
Sophia. Now, coming back to the issue of the agreement, and this is spelled out in Article 109 of the Constitution, that National Assembly can deal with any bill, can originate any bill, but the Senate only deals with the bills concerning counties, and that is expounded further under Article 110 of the Constitution. But the two speakers need to agree on whether bill concerns counties or not. And I want to disagree with Mutula. I think he has also got it wrong. It is not bills touching counties. Not anything in this country touches counties, or there is very little. It's not touching. It is concerning county. And concerning county is clearly defined in law. Clearly defined. It's not just a matter of an issue or an aspect touching on county as he puts it.
Have the speakers failed?
Now, the speakers have not failed. I think what the Senate has not appreciated, in my view, is the fact that this matter has been settled in court. They want to go to court, but in 2014, Justice Lenaola said very clearly that you don't have to have the speaker sitting every day. That was not the intention of Kenyans. Unless a question arises as to whether a bill concerns county or not, the Speaker of the National Assembly can deal with it. Because almost all bills originate in the National Assembly. But there's not almost, all bills can originate in the National Assembly. But the Senate, you can only originate a bill that concerns counties. So what we need to ask is, are there bills that have been dealt with at the National Assembly and passed without involving the Senate, which concerns counties? That is the contention that I hear from the Senate. And they need to tell us how these bills concern counties, because it's not just about a function. The bills concerning counties are clearly defined under Article 110. There are three. One is a bill regarding the election of the county assemblies or the county executive. If there is any bill varying that or changing that or making amendments to that, that is a bill concerning counties. Two, bills concerning or affecting functions that are clearly defined under Schedule 4 to the Constitution. And you can go to the Schedule 4 to the Constitution and you will see the bills listed. If there is such a bill that has come to the National Assembly and has been dealt with at the National Assembly without considering the input of the Senate, then that is wrong. And then finally, the bill under Chapter 12 to the Constitution, Chapter 12 to the Constitution, that is the Division of Revenue Bill and the County Allocation. Although if you ask me, I think the intention was County Allocation of Revenue Bill. Now, our colleagues in the Senate believe that almost all bills should go to the Senate. That was not the intention.
But the question is, what's happening, the conversation at the very top for the Speaker, so that as all of these bills are happening, before it's taken forward for assent, I imagine there would be that checking or that conversation. In your view, is that a problem at that level?
Yes, indeed. I would agree with my colleague, Mr. Mutula Kilonzo, that we need more synergy between the two speakers. Indeed, there's currently a proposal in the Senate that is being discussed to see whether we can establish a law that would ensure the two speakers speak often.
But the law is there saying
no, we do not really have...
at least that they should have concurrence, they should speak to each other.
No, we do not have a clarity on that issue.
Okay.
It's still a lacuna. Yes, the Constitution sets down the principle, but the actual details, what happens, what is the procedure of the concurrence or even a divergence of opinion between the two speakers. So probably we need a clarity in that. And that, in my own opinion, ought to be captured in an act of parliament. So let us wait to see that legislative proposal, which is currently undergoing what we call legislative conveyor belt. Once it goes to the National Assembly, I would hope they support it so that we create a clear, objective framework for the discussions between the two speakers. And that way, I would imagine the National Assembly will stop usurping the powers of the Senate. Be that as it may, allow me to reply to two issues my colleague has said. Number one, the issue of absorption rate in the counties. You'll find the problem can be traced with various offices which are currently under the control of the national government, or even they are the so-called independent offices. A good example is the Office of the Budget of Control, the office of Madam Adhiambo. You cannot do anything in the counties without her approving specific budget items. You find there are a lot of documents currently of the counties which are laying before her office, and that is somehow torpedoing quick absorption of money. Okay. Yes, I concede we do have a problem of capacity. Yeah. You know, counties are still young institutions, they need to be nurtured, but be that as it may, you will find the problem can be traced at times, by the way, to the Treasury. There are several instances. For instance, I was...
and I want us to come back to topic because we are really veering.
But the point I also want to argue is National Treasury, for instance, it is the one that has to open up something we call IFMIS. If they fail to give rights to various finance officers, counties cannot spend money. So the problem again goes back to the national government. Now, coming back to this topic, several bills have been signed by President into law, and we have no problem. For instance, the other day I saw the President signing into law the Insurance Act, which I agree that is within the purview of the National Assembly. But others, for instance, the one talking about shipping, for instance, transportation, or even the so-called Mental Health Act. When you look at a fourth schedule of the Constitution, it lists down what matters fall under the counties, what matters fall under the national government. Matters health strictly fall under the counties, except policy issues. To me, mental health is not a policy issue. It is a matter, in my own opinion, ought to have been considered by the Senate. It touches on matters health, which in my own opinion ought to have been considered by the Senate.
And these are issues that will be decided in court. I don't want us to go to the specifics of the bills.
Can I also comment? Can I also comment?
When are you moving to court? Briefly. No,
yes,
not to the extent of subject.
Can I comment?
Yes,
can I comment? Yes, can I comment on the issue of court? Two issues. One, my colleague here is making reliance on a judgment by Honorable Justice Lenaola. Lenola was making that pronouncement in a matter that, as at that time, was not brought by the Senate. There were private litigants who were before him, and they were challenging certain laws which have been passed by the National Assembly. So I'm trying to argue, one, the Senate was not involved in that suit. Number two, and most importantly, we have a doctrine of stare decisis, which argues Supreme Court findings bind Court of Appeal, they bind High Court, they bind the Majesty's Court. High Court judgment cannot bind Supreme Court.
Okay.
It cannot bind Court of Appeal. So the point I'm trying to argue, we wait until the matter is escalated before.
Yes.
It is before to the Supreme Court.
Responding to what you said.
Yes, I'm arguing. You wait. The matter goes to the Supreme Court.
Senator,
a final decision is made,
yes,
and that way it is going to bind
Senator,
everyone. But don't make reliance on a High Court
Let me ask
judgment.
this, Honorable Mbadi. The question around the committee of experts ahead of the promulgation, they structured a very strong Senate. However, in Naivasha, the political class scrapped Senate, but the COE then reinstated Senate, but with diminished powers. Is that where the rain started beating us?
You know, Sophia, first, my friend, you have to respond to what Irungu Kangata said. You know, Supreme Court just gave an opinion. That was not a judgment as such. And I think he's a lawyer, he's much more conversant with that, but he's disappointing me on this. Two, High Court ruling, if not appealed, it stands. No one has appealed. Whether they were private litigants, they challenged the powers of the National Assembly, which the High Court said that National Assembly did not act outside the law. And unless it is appealed by anybody else, whether the litigant or someone else, it stands. So this argument by Honorable Irungu Kangata that is just a High Court decision, to me, baffles me. But the other thing that I also wanted to put across, if you want to know that the Senate is not so sure of what their functions are, it's talking about shipping. Go to the Constitution, 4th schedule. Marine navigation is purely a national government function. I can give him this constitution and tell me where shipping is allocated to the counties. So when they hear of any bill, if it is in Mombasa, they would imagine that whether it is a state organ and it is stationed in Mombasa, they think that is a Mombasa county affair, and they want to get involved. Now, coming back to your question about the powers of the Senate, the information I have is this. The Kenyan Senate was meant to be as weak as it is from day one. From Bomas of Kenya to the Committee of Experts. By the way, Committee of Experts just brought together and sampled together the opinions and documents from various sources, including the Bomas draft, where they borrowed heavily. In fact, the idea of Kenyans was not to have a Senate that is sitting throughout the year. They expected a Senate that would only sit 4 times in a year.
Well, their report indicates that
if you get to the the committee, the parliamentary committee in Naivasha did not want to scrap the Senate. What they wanted to do was to make Senate a lower house. But the Committee of Experts, and that is in the Hansard, the Committee of Experts advised and advised them that in the current modern democracy, there is no hierarchy of houses. The houses should remain at the same level. And that is why in Kenya, we don't have an upper house and a lower house. So that as it may, we have a constitution. All the others were processes leading to this constitution. This constitution has set out the functions of the 2 houses. Legislative, oversight, and representation. Just give me 2 minutes, if you don't mind. In terms of representation, National Assembly represents the people of constituencies and special interests.
Yes.
Counties are represented. The Senate represents counties and the county governments. Okay. In terms of oversight, the Senate oversights the national revenue that is allocated to counties. The National Assembly oversights the entire national revenue allocated to the national government and its expenditure and appropriations thereof. When it comes to legislation, National Assembly enacts all laws. The Senate participates in enactment of laws that concern counties, and they are defined under Article 110.
And
In fact, when I hear the Senate
contention.
trying to go to the High Court, or whether it is Supreme Court, I don't know which court.
Yes.
What are you seeking? What do you want the courts to,
All right.
to determine on? It is already there in the Constitution.
For our viewers on KTN Home, that's where we wrap up for you here on Checkpoint. Robinson and Kenya will have a sports update for you after the break. But for you with us here on KTN News, this conversation is continuing right now. So let me then pose this to you, Senator Kangata, because on one hand, there's always been the argument in terms of the balance and the balance of scale in terms of representation, that a senator has more people they're representing, and that perhaps that is why they've always felt that they should have more say, that a constituency, a member of parliament represents a constituency, is under a county that a senator represents. So is that the difficulty in coming to terms with who is and who should wield more power? Is this all a power play sort of thing that we're seeing unfold?
No, I disagree. It is a power play. For me, it is a problem of National Assembly that is breaching constitutional provisions. It is a National Assembly that is going against the Constitution. In fact, for me, I strongly believe the powers that the Senate have as per the constitutions, they are okay, they are enough. You don't even have to add it more powers. But so long as we have a National Assembly that wants to breach the Constitution, that is the problem. But
the National Assembly feels you're overstepping when you summon CSS. The Leader of Majority said they should not appear before the Senate. When you have a committee in the Senate for dealing with matters of foreign affairs, defense, these are national matters. When you're investigating KQ as a committee of the Senate, the overreach, do you see that?
No, I disagree. In fact, I want to give them something. I probably invite them to try to go to Supreme Court or any other court to attempt to torpedo what we are doing. And I can tell you they are going to lose in any court of law. When you look at the Constitution, Article 125, which gives Parliament powers to summon anyone, Senate has those powers. We are not restricted when it comes to which other person, which entity we can summon. We can summon a CS, we can do any investigation on any matter. So therefore, this idea of saying no, you cannot summon the CS is not grounded upon the Constitution. Read for yourself Article 125.
Read for us, the Constitution is
yes,
here.
it is here. I'm going to read for you. You will see, indeed, it is them who want to breach the provision of the Constitution. Exactly. Listen. Article 125, Sub-Article 1. Either House of Parliament and any of its committees has powers to summon any person to appear before it for the purpose of giving evidence or providing information. Either House of Parliament, including Senate. So therefore,
so please respond to that.
Yes, respond to
I'll
this.
respond. First of all, Sophia, where you have also got it wrong here, that the senators represents more people. I think that is where we lose the argument. I will answer you. First, not all members of Parliament don't represent just single constituencies. There are women reps in the National Assembly who also come represent the whole county, if that is the argument. First of all, Senate don't represent people in the constituencies. They represent counties. In fact, the Constitution is very clear that the work of the Senate is to protect the interests of counties. That is why they vote as delegations. In fact, the mistake that we made as a country is to have senators to be elected directly by the universal suffrage. That is something that I think we should have corrected. That is what is bringing this argument and the feeling that senators represent so many people. The people of constituencies are represented by the National Assembly, and that is here in the Constitution. Now, on his question of 125, and this is the tired argument from the Senate, always that because the provision of that article is that either house can summon anybody. You summon anybody in line with the functions allocated to you. That is why you will not hear National Assembly summoning governors. And the Constitution says either house can summon anybody. So do you expect the National Assembly to summon governors to answer to county issues? Because that is a function that's allocated to counties. You don't see us summoning county CECs. because that is not within our docket. So the Senate should read the Constitution holistically. Don't just pick one article of the Constitution. And since you read, allow me also to read.
Counter with the
Yes,
own redation.
you see, the Constitution, Article 95, speaks to the function. I want to take you to oversight function that you are asked.
Yes.
What is the oversight function that is given to National Assembly? The National Assembly is given this oversight function. It determines the allocation of national revenue between the levels of government. Between the levels of government, as provided in Part 4 of Chapter 12. Between the levels of government, national and county. 2, appropriate funds for expenditure by the national government and other national state organs. 3, exercise oversight over national revenue and its expenditure. And 3, reviews the conduct in office of the president, the deputy president, and other state officers, and initiates the process of removing them from office. Who initiates the process of removing them from office? National Assembly.
Correct.
Now come to the Senate. What is the oversight function of the Senate? The Senate determines the allocation of revenue, national revenue, among counties, as provided in Article 270, among counties, horizontally, and exercises oversight over national revenue allocated to the county government, not even locally generated revenue, only national revenue allocated to the counties. The Senate participates in the oversight of state officers by considering and determining any resolution to remove the president or deputy president. So they only participate in removal of deputy president and the president, and on a resolution, which means if there is no resolution, the Senate will not come in. Now, when the Senate has no powers to oversight other state officers,
so
now when you invite a state officer, a CC, and by the way, this Constitution, you asked him about the functions.
As you look for that, a quick rejoinder.
No, I already have it. I already have it, Sophia.
Briefly,
In
so that
national government function is foreign affairs, foreign policy, and international trade. Okay? You hear they have a committee on foreign affairs.
So yes,
tell me here in the Constitution, under the 4th schedule, this is the Constitution. Tell me under the 4th schedule, where the Senate, where the counties have been given the role of the foreign affairs. And why should you have
and also the duplication
why should you have the committee on foreign affairs?
One cardinal function of the Senate is protect the interests of the counties. The interests of the counties. So therefore, are you trying to enunciate that counties do not have an interest in what we call cross-national relationships? They do. You'll find, for instance, there are some counties which have investors coming from abroad. So therefore, it makes sense for Senate, for instance.
Is it in the Constitution?
No, it is there. It is there. You have some counties. No, we have some counties. Of course, I'm sure you're aware, governors who go to Dubai, to America, to seek for investments, and we must follow them to
ensure. So the governors are creating their Constitution.
No, it is. It is true.
Read for us in the Constitution where the foreign affairs function is with the county.
No, I'm not saying that.
Then why should you have
I'm saying.
Okay.
No,
Let him now respond. Yes.
No, the question should be.
Yes.
The work of the Senate is to protect the interests of the counties.
Correct.
Some of those interests are cross-national. They are cross-boundary relationships.
But do not justify. The question the question is why, as people charge or your mandate being oversight of what's and the issues concerning the counties, foreign affairs. Yes, it is true they may engage in business and all that, as you're saying, investment, but does that justify
of course,
a whole committee
of
the Senate?
Of course,
taxpayers' money going into
indeed.
all these committees that you have in the National Assembly and the Senate, the duplication concern, and that now we just end up with so many committees sometimes doing the same things.
No, in fact, I don't know whether you are aware, there are several county capitals who are currently twinned with some other entities out there. You find, for instance, Nairobi is twinned with London, it is twinned with New York. So therefore, as a committee of Senate of Foreign Affairs, you need to check to oversight that. Failure to that, you will find, for instance, some counties entering into some relationship with another city without correct oversight. You have to establish a committee to check on those relationships and several other examples. For instance, agriculture or even health. The main funder of our health services in this country is the American government. They're the ones who give us money. They're the ones who found a lot of our health sector interventions. So you need a committee that is going to ensure the relationship between various hospitals in this country, which fall under the counties. Those relationships are above the board. There is no misuse of money, and that can only happen if we establish a standalone committee.
So even
on
as you
foreign
do
affairs.
that, because what one would argue is, at a national level, you'll understand then whatever findings is a minister, a CS, foreign affairs. So at the county level, how then does that play out with whatever engagement of counties and these foreign entities? How is that channeled?
That one, it depends on county to counties. Some counties have established offices of what they call external liaison officers. So those are the ones who do those synergies, those relationships between, let's say, the county of Kakamega with another, let's say, a county in Australia or even in Uganda, for instance. So because of those synergies, that aspect that some counties have relationship with some foreign entities, you need to have a committee.
But you can't pin it in law.
Of Senate. No, look here, by the way, look at Article 6 of the Constitution. And by the way, remember, Article 6 of the Constitution, and I'm going to read to you, expressly provides that county governments are independent. They are like almost, listen, Article 6 sub Article 2 of the Constitution says, the governments at the national and the county levels are distinct and interdependent and shall conduct their mutual relationships on the basis of consultation and cooperation. So we must always remember, counties are distinct entities, which meaning from a constitutional theoretical point of view, they can enter into some relationships with some other supranational entities.
Right.
And that way, without a Senate committee that is going to oversight this relationship,
So
we
why
shall
do you have defense committee? Why do you have defense committee?
No, of course.
I'm just asking, why then do you have defense? You have tried, although unsuccessfully, to talk
So
about
defense
the foreign
committee?
relations. So why do you have defense for a committee, for example?
No, you know, the defense committee is not a standalone committee. It is foreign affairs and defense committee.
Why do you call
They are
it defense?
intertwined. Those issues are intertwined.
Why is it? Why don't you just call
Of
it
course,
foreign affairs?
because, do you know why? Because the Ministry of Defense does not live in the air. It has defense entities in certain counties. You have a
That's
base
where you
in
get it
Anyuki,
wrong, you know.
you have a base here in Nairobi County.
But which then you're driving and you're getting yourself into the point that Mheshimiwa Mbadi made earlier, that just because a base is in a county, then the county imagines they have a
We
role.
can't be in the air. We are. The Kenya,
of course they
Kenya
do.
is already divided
No,
into
they
47
do.
counties.
They
But
do.
they're still a unitary state.
I agree, but you'll find, let's say, for instance, Moi Air Base at Nanyuki, it has some relationship with the county of
So you
Nanyuki.
don't have a concern around
Yes.
duplication, that then we end up having all of these committees, both at the National Assembly and the Senate. Briefly on that.
No, there is no duplication, so long as we are ensuring our committees stick to our issues. They look at specific issues that relate to the counties, as we do not go into the functions of the national government. We are strictly looking at the county relationship, together with any synergies that may be there between the national government and the counties.
But in probing, for instance, of the KQ issue, there was no narrowing down to the county issue in the national carrier. We heard of all of the general issues being raised around the national carrier, KQ. So I'm finding it hard to see what you mean that we narrowed down on counties when handling issues in these committees.
No, we usually take into account wherever you have a matter that affects counties. And of course, when you talk of air travel, counties have a stake into it. Counties, they do. Of course, they are carrying passengers who come from counties.
You know,
they are carrying goods which come from the counties. A good example is like Murang'a County.
Yes.
We are the main exporters of avocado in this country.
Let
we
him
control
respond.
60% of the avocado country.
you know,
So
Sophia.
meaning, listen, by the way, let me show you the connection. Take, for instance, Murang'a County.
Briefly.
We are the greatest exporter of avocado.
Yes.
Avocado is exported through air. If we don't have a national carrier, Murang'a County suffers. So we have a stake in ensuring
Alright.
Kenya Airways does not sink.
You know, Sophia, from the debate here, you
Yes.
can see how Senate is struggling. And in fact, this is the genesis of the problem that we have with the Senate. Senate in Kenya, if Irungu Kangata is the representation of the Senate, you can see that we have a lost Senate. confused on their roles. They don't understand what bills concerning counties are, what oversighting the state organs are. The issue of aviation is a national government function. It is clearly defined under the 4th schedule to the Constitution. It is here. Aviation, civil aviation, it is under item number 18. G, civil aviation, space travel. That is
yes, can I ask a question?
No, now,
let him finish then.
what the people of Kenya envisaged in this constitution was not to have two parallel governments. We have Senate, we have National Assembly. Functions that are allocated to National Assembly are supposed to be performed in the interest of the country. So don't pigeonhole National Assembly somewhere and pigeonhole the Senate somewhere. Just allow the two to execute their function. So you avocado, so long as the national government has perfected, has made aviation proper, your avocado will be taken care of. All the airstrips, if you have airstrip in your county, is under national government. It is not under county government. They have no say in it. Even the Homa Bay airstrip in my county is a national government function. Right now we have allocated 128 million from the national government to that airstrip. We have not asked the county government of Homa Bay to even contribute a shilling because that is not their function. So please restrict yourselves to the function that have been allocated to the county. And they are here. And when we read them, you think we are demeaning you. But it is not us. It is the people of Kenya who gave you these roles. These functions like animal control and welfare, licensing of dogs, and facilities for the accommodation, care, and burial of animals. It is the people of Kenya who decided to give you this function. It's not me. So when I read them, please don't take offense. This is a very important function. We want our environment to be clean. We want you to legislate on these matters. And please leave the matters that are national government function to the National Assembly, my friend.
No.
Then we will be friends. We will not have any problem.
No.
But how does this, as you respond, affect Wanjiku? Because we can have all of these conversations, back and forth, engagement on how you understand what the Constitution says and how you interpret the same. But does this affect service delivery to Wanjiku? Because that's what matters at the end of the day, not all of this back and forth between the two houses.
Yes, it does to a certain extent, because one, you'll find a National Assembly that is ensuring as little as possible resources is being devoted to the counties. You will find a National Assembly that is holding brief for the executive, as opposed to a National Assembly that is assisting Senate to devote more resources to the counties, a National Assembly that should be assisting the people in Mashinani to get more money. In fact, by the way, National Assembly has become an extension of the executive, which is very wrong. Remember,
should it be scrapped now that they are saying you should?
No, I wouldn't
scrapped?
say that. No.
So what's the solution?
To me, we need a National Assembly that is sensitive to the wananchi, that is respectful to the impact that the counties are doing at the Mashinani. You will find, by the way, before devolution, so many villages did not have tapped water. So many villages did not have, for instance, basic educational facilities, particularly pre-primary education facility in this country. Prior to devolution, most of our roads in the rural areas were not being taken care of. So therefore, when you have a National Assembly that views devolution as something that needs to be shoved around, to me seems to give credence the whole existence of Senate. Without Senate, by the way, without Senate,
on devolution.
Yes, indeed it is. It is. Surely, how can you propose devolve units to get 310 billion when they are the ones which are dealing with agriculture? By the way, look at this. We say agriculture is the backbone of this country. It is employing almost 60% of our Kenyans. It is providing the greatest share of GDP of this country. And then the National Assembly comes up with a budget that only gives about 3% of our national revenue to agriculture, because they have a contemptuous attitude to devolve functions. If at all we had a rational, a fair, a reasonable National Assembly, do you know what they'll be doing? They'll be putting more resources to the agricultural sector. That is where you find our people, for instance, in Murang'a County, or even in his Homa Bay County. People are fishermen, my people are farmers, several people are herders, but they do not push national government to allocate more resources to our farmers.
Yeah.
Why? Because that function is devolved. So therefore, to me, Senate is doing a great service to this country, protecting devolution, ensuring more resources go to the wananchi. And by the way, look, for instance, the issue of health, it is devolved. And again, you have doctors striking, we have people complaining we do not have medicine, and to me that can be traced to an irresponsible National Assembly that does not want to send more money to the health sector by ensuring our counties are well resourced. To me, National Assembly should feel ashamed with what it is doing, acting as a, how do I say, as a agent of the national.
May I put in a question as you respond to the point he's made around the protection of devolution, because the devolved functions and what you have now as the Big Four agenda, 3 of them are actually devolved functions, so that even as the budget making process continues, is a National then Assembly in allocation of funds seeing the executive hold on to still so much money in terms of ministries because of this big now 3 that ideally should all be pushed down to the counties because they are devolved functions?
First of all, let me put it this way. For me, I have no problem with the Senate protecting the interests of counties. And by the way, even on this disagreement or division of revenue, I have no problem with the Senate. It is their duty and responsibility to ask for more money to go to the counties. But I also want to ask the Senate, as they push, they should also, because I am an expert in finance, I understand that much as you push for more budgetary allocation, please also look at the utilization of the same. It is important to ask yourself, how come we have allocated 314 billion and only 226 has reached the county? So the problem you may find is not lack of funds, but lack of budgetary allocation, but lack of funds occasioned by those issues that he was raising here. Those issues the county, the Senate should have been looking at. Why should the control of budget be an impediment? Why should treasury be an impediment? Why can't we call the governors to ask them why they have not spent the money they have been given? So those are all issues that should be looked at holistically. But something that I also wanted to point out, Sophia, it is also wrong to imagine that there is money that is sitting in national government that should continue trickling down to the counties. I will tell you, as an expert in finance, as someone who has understood this budget, that is a fallacy. In fact, in this country, we are almost borrowing money to pay recurrent expenditure. So it is not true that, in fact, almost all the money for development goes to the counties. The money that you see national government developing the country with, the roads, what is all loans. We are not using the locally generated revenue to develop our roads, to develop our SGR, to develop the geothermal. All these are loans. Now, on the issue of health, health is largely devolved. But what Irungu should raise, and which I have raised, and which I think they need to ask, is why should we continue having conditional grants to counties? Because they are not talking about the 23 billion that is being given to counties as conditional grants. Why should we continue having conditional grants? We continue having conditional grants because counties are not disciplined enough to utilize the resources they are given for certain critical functions. You give money to the county governments for level 5 hospitals. They don't apply it to level 5. They apply to other things, some of them they steal. Then now it forces the national government, including the Senate and the National Assembly, to put that money direct to level 5 as conditional grant. Why should we put 2 billion for polytechnics as conditional grant? Those are the questions that we need to ask. I am not saying that the amount of money that we have given counties is just too much or is enough. There is need to devolve more resources. But what we need to ask ourselves, Sophia, is do we have that resource to devolve? Lastly, there is a distinction between counties and national government. For national government, we are working with projections. That is why the budget for national government, including the appropriation bill, was passed without the division of revenue bill, because these are just estimates. The national government can fail to meet the targets and they adjust the budget. But the counties, once you allocate the money, it must go to the counties. There is no provision again to vary the budgets of the counties. And that is why when you read Article 224, I wish you could just
Our
give
time
me,
is really,
just give me 30 seconds,
30 seconds.
Sophia. Article 224, as opposed to Article 221, is very clear. And I had the Senate talk about that the budget should have, the president should have not approved the appropriation bill to make it an act without division of revenue. That is far from it. In fact, the Constitution has distinguished the national government appropriation bill can go on without the division of revenue, but the county appropriation bill cannot. Article 224 says, on the basis of the division of revenue bill passed by Parliament and Article 218, each county government shall prepare and adopt its own annual budget and appropriation bill in the form, which means I even see counties passing their budgets, passing appropriation bill. That is unconstitutional. Without division of revenue bill, you cannot pass the budgets of counties.
All right. We have 30 seconds to both of you. Okay, 1 minute to you. Final question. The proposal around scrapping the position of leader of majority and minority in the Senate. The argument being that those are not captured in the Constitution.
The Constitution does not establish all offices that are there in government. You'll find it is the Parliament that has the power. No, it is the Parliament that has the power to add more laws. Surely the Constitution is not a document that addresses everything. The Constitution gives the power to Parliament to establish other offices, and that is what has happened.
Even within the House?
Of course, it is there. We have power to come up with what we call standing orders. Through standing orders, we can establish committees, we can establish offices.
Okay.
Otherwise, if you argue that way, then you will have a situation where so many offices which are not made or expressly provided for by the Constitution, then being nullified. You must also appreciate Parliament as a law-making entity. It is a law-making entity.
Okay.
And finally, allow me to comment on something that he has mentioned that we need to emphasize.
Briefly.
The issue concerning failure to pass DORA, what we call Division of Revenue Bill. I agree with him that without it, you will find the budget-making process at the counties is problematic from a constitutional point of view. But who is to blame? It is them. By ensuring, it is the National Assembly.
That is both
To
houses
me,
have
it is the
disagreed.
National Assembly which
not
has
correct.
become an appendage of the executive. One, they have presided over a period of
15
an
seconds.
expansionary fiscal policy, which have what we call a huge budget deficit. And finally, and most importantly, they have refused to cede more function to the counties. Huge money being allocated to corrupt national government entities like NYS. I don't know. Yes, it is true. Of course. You should have those billions that you are giving to NYS should have been devolved to support our polytechnics.
Our time is up. 15 seconds.
So this, now you give him 2 minutes. And you give
the
me
time
30.
is going.
But you see, according to him, for us not to be appendage of the executive, we should just agree with the Senate, which I don't think is the objective of this constitution. But listen to the leader of majority and the leader of minority.
Yes.
You know, when you say under Article 108 that there shall be a leader of the majority party and a leader of the minority party, a leader. And it says the leader of the majority party shall be the person who is the leader in the National Assembly of the largest party. The leader of the minority party shall be the person who is the leader in the National Assembly. And the use of the word article there means one. Now, we have no problem, you can create positions, but don't use the title that the Constitution has given to the leader of majority and the leader of minority in the National Assembly. Where
we must go, gentlemen.
No. Fine, the chief whip, you have a chief whip. Are you saying a chief whip is should also vacate?
the Constitution has not talked about the
No, exactly. So meaning we have the power to do
this conversation.
You know you are
continue.
heckling. You know, listen.
Gentlemen, our time is up. You hear that? That is always to sign us out. Thank you so much, Mirongo Kangata, Senator Murang'a County, John Badi. National Assembly Minority Leader, yours is secure, it appears.
I'm the leader of minority.
Leader of minority.
Yes, that is what the Constitution
That's
says.
what the leader.
The leader of minority.
Thank you for being with us for this conversation. We appreciate your time this evening.